Just a second.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Sandeep Sharma.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Fine.
Good morning. So 34 students are in online. Hmm. Okay, now it's showing newly. I think MS Teams they are updating these things. Windows 5. Okay.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. So last time I didn't took class properly. Sorry for that. Anyway, today I will finish this topic. Okay. Hmm. So basically, in today's lecture, I was skipping the revision of last topic. So last week we are discussing about muscles actually. The muscles. So if you still have any doubts in that musculoskeletal system, then you can text me personally, and I will provide you the notes, or I will take class again for you. Or else the class lecture has been already uploaded in the YouTube. So nowadays I'm not sharing the YouTube links to you. Rather than I'm directly uploading there. If you already subscribed in my channel, means you will get notification. So all the lectures are available in the channel, and if you want, you can go your revision by watching the video again, okay, in my channel. So okay, so just let me know, can you see the PowerPoint? Usual dialogues.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the PowerPoint? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Fine. So okay. um, okay, students, so the subject is human anatomy and physiology, and the subject code is BMLS 2004, and currently we are in the unit 2. So in the unit 2 we have three topics. One is musculoskeletal system, second one is respiratory system, and third one is cardiovascular system. So in the musculoskeletal system, we have discussed about introduction, classification of muscles, structure of muscle, functions of the skeletal system. Then we discussed about various types of joints present in the human body, and we have even discussed about the various types of movements that is shown by the human body. So all these topics has been finished, and I have also discussed about the bones present in the human body, types of bones, both appendicular skeletal system and the axial skeletal system. So all of those topics has been finished, and now we are going to the second topic, which is the respiratory system. So in the respiratory system, we have three important topics. So I know what is respiratory system. This is the system all about the lungs. Okay, the things that will that are essential breathing. Here we have three topics in respiratory system. One is structure of respiratory system. So what are the parts present in the respiratory system? Okay, and functional anatomy. And second one is mechanism of breathing and respiration. So what is the mechanism of breathing? How we are breathing, and mechanism of respiration. So there is a slight difference between breathing and respiration that I will discuss. Okay, and third topic is lung function test. So there is something called lung function test in order to assess the functional capacity of a lung. How we are going to assess the functional capacity of a lung in a patient, whether his lungs properly working or not, whether they have the proper stats of normal working. Okay, so those lung functions can be determined by certain tests, by certain terms, and those terms are called two terms we have. Okay, one is vital capacity or lung capacity, and second one is lungs. So with this lung capacity and lung volume, we will assess the functional status of the lungs, and that together are stated in this last few lines. So here they said about vital capacity, total volume, reserve volume, total lung capacity. So these are the terms which are used in that lung function test, students. Okay, simply we have capacity and volumes that I will discuss maybe in day after tomorrow's lecture. So for today's lecture, I will focus on the structure and functional anatomy of lungs, and I will try to discuss about the mechanism of breathing. So these are the topics that I will try to cover. Okay. So we have only three topics in respiratory physiology. One is anatomy of the respiratory system. Second one, mechanism of breathing and respiration. And third one is lung function test. Okay, so is that clear for everyone? Is that clear? In the respiratory system, we will discuss about the anatomy, we will discuss about the mechanism of respiration, and we will discuss about the lung function tests. These three things I will cover in this unit 2 in this respiratory physiology. Okay. So coming to the respiratory tract. So this respiratory tract is broadly divided into two areas, above the neck and below the neck. Okay, so above the neck is called as upper respiratory tract and below the neck is called as lower respiratory tract. Are you following me, students? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we following you.
If there is anything, kindly let me so that I will rectify that. Okay. So that's it, students. So basically, the respiratory tract has been divided into two parts: upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract. So upper respiratory tract means it composed of mouth, nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. Okay. So mouth, nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. So these are the parts present in the upper respiratory tract. What are those? Mouth, nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. So
And
mouth
larynx.
you already know. So in the mouth you have the tongue. Tongue. But usually we won't consider mouth as a part of respiratory system. Rather than we will go with the respiratory the nasal cavity. So first we will have the nasal cavity. Then we have the pharynx. So in this pharynx we have three regions, students. Oropharynx, nasopharynx, and laryngopharynx. So this pharynx has been divided into three areas. The pharynx that is present in the near the nasal cavity is called nasopharynx, and the pharynx that is present near the mouth is called oropharynx, and the pharynx that is present near the larynx is called as laryngopharynx. So together these three together called as the pharynx. Okay, this is the soft area, or this is the area which is commonly connecting the nasal cavity, oral cavity, and the digestive and respiratory cavity. So this is a common area, and this common area has been divided into three areas actually: nasopharynx, laryngopharynx, and oropharynx. Then this laryngopharynx. So what is the meaning of this laryngopharynx or larynx? So larynx means that is your vocal or voice box. So with this larynx only we can able to speak. The vocal cords are present in this larynx. Okay. So larynx is also called as voice box, which is present in your neck. Usually we will say Adam's apple. So in the boys you can see a prominent projection in your neck region. So that prominent projection is actually your larynx. So larynx is very essential for production of speech. So the voice can be generated by this larynx. So that is why larynx is also called as voice box. So this larynx is directly connected to the trachea. Okay. So trachea. So trachea is also called as windpipe. This trachea is connected to the lungs. Okay. So together trachea and the lungs are present in the lower respiratory tract. So lower respiratory tract composed of trachea and lungs, whereas upper respiratory tract composed of nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. Okay. So until larynx is your upper respiratory tract. After larynx, that means your trachea and lungs are in the lower respiratory tract. Now this trachea is divided. It is segmented into multiple segments. So the more it is segmenting, the smaller it will become. Okay. So first I will tell like this. So first the pen is very, if you imagine this pen as a trachea. So when we are opening when the pen is branching, when it is segmenting, each segment will become small. Okay. So the more the segments, the smaller the area. Okay. So ultimately at the end of this trachea, you will end up with a alveoli present in the lungs. Okay. So together this is called as bronchial tree. Together this trachea and the segments of trachea is called as bronchial tree. So what are the parts of that bronchial tree? I will discuss in the next slide. So first you just understand the brief anatomy of respiratory tract. So basically the respiratory tract is divided into upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Upper respiratory tract composed of nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. So this pharynx is further divided into three areas: nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Then you have the larynx, which is the voice box. Then coming to the lower respiratory tract, in the lower respiratory tract, you have the trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Okay. Next. Next is structure of lungs. So is this clear, students? Are you clear with upper respiratory tract and
Yes,
lower
sir.
respiratory tract?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So tell me the parts of upper respiratory tract. The parts of upper respiratory.
Nasal cavity, pharynx,
Nasal
larynx,
cavity,
larynx.
and larynx.
Very good. What are the three types of pharynx we have?
Oropharynx,
Oropharynx,
and
nasopharynx, and laryngopharynx. Okay, good.
larynx.
Very good. So usually you should go with the order, students, from top to down. Okay. So first you will have the nasopharynx, then you will have the oropharynx, then you will have the laryngopharynx. Okay. Then laryngopharynx is connected to larynx. Then you have the trachea and bronchi and lungs. Okay. So what organ is called as a voice box or Adam's apple?
Larynx.
Larynx. Very good. And what is the
Larynx.
location of larynx? What is the location of larynx? It is located in the neck, okay? In the neck region, in the anterior aspect of the neck. Okay. I hope you know what is anterior, posterior, superior, inferior. They are the common anatomical terms.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Yeah. So let me check the time. 10:43. Just a second. Let me connect to my Wi-Fi here. Just a second. It is in the Wi-Fi. Okay. Now I'm connected to Wi-Fi. Okay. So the next, what I'm going to discuss is structure of lungs. Okay. So next I'm going to discuss about the structure of lungs. So this is just a introductory class. Next I will discuss in depth, okay, of each and every topic. So the second part of this lecture is structure of lungs. Okay. So this is how the structure of lungs looks like. So I will go with a basic explanation. So if you see the structure of lung, students, the right lung will have 3 lobes and the left lung will have the 2 lobes. So basically these lungs are divided into lobes, students. So lung is made up of 3 parts. Okay. So the right lung is made up of 3 lobes, whereas the left lung is made up of 2 lobes. And the right lung is slightly bigger than the left lung. And there is a reason. There is a reason why the right lung is large and the left lung is smaller. Because the heart is located to the left side of the mediastinum or left side of the chest cavity. I hope you know this fact. So the location of heart is this one, students. And let me take a marker here. Okay, highlighter, I mean. So if you see the heart will situated at here, students. This is the location of the heart. Okay. So
Yes,
I need to draw like this. Yeah. So heart is located like this. So slightly heart is bended towards the left side of the in the chest cavity. So because of that, the left lung is somewhat smaller because left lung need to give space for the heart. So that is why left lung is somewhat smaller compared to the right lung. So right lung will usually composed of 3 lobes, lobe 1, lobe 2, and lobe 3, whereas left lung will have only 2 lobes, lobe 1 and lobe 2. Okay. So these are the lobes of the lungs. Let me erase this one. Okay. Then I will now these lungs are covered by a pleural membrane. It is covered by a double membrane. Okay. And those membranes are called as pleura. The outer covering of the lungs is called as pleura, and we have 2 layers of this pleural membrane. Okay. So inner pleura and outer pleura. Okay. So inner pleural membrane is called as visceral pleural membrane, whereas the outer pleural membrane is called as parietal pleural membrane. So the membranes that are covering the lung are called as pleura. We have two layers of pleural membrane. Inner pleural membrane is called as visceral pleural membrane, whereas outer pleural membrane is called as parietal pleural membrane. Okay. So in between this pleural membrane, there is a space. There is an empty cavity. And this cavity is called as pleural cavity. Pleural cavity. The space that is present in between inner pleura and outer pleura is called as pleural cavity. And that space is called as peripleural space. The space that is present in between the pleura is called as peripleural space. And in this space, we will have a fluid. This space is filled with a fluid called pleural fluid. This pleural fluid helps in reducing the friction. This pleural fluid is very important in order to maintain the lungs. Okay, so we know that the lungs will expand and they will contract. When the lungs are expanding and they are contracting, there will be a friction. And also keep in mind, lung tissue is very delicate tissue. Lung tissue is made up of a elastic tissue actually. Because of that elasticity only, lung can able to expand and it can able to relax. So when we are breathing, lung will expand and it will contract. And when there is this movement, we need to ensure that the lung is not destroyed. Lung is not wear and teared. Lung is not teared when it is expanding. In order to protect lung from self-tearing, this lung is lubricated by the outer membrane, and that lubricant is called as pleural fluid. Pleural fluid will act as a lubricant and it will reduce the friction between these pleural layers so that the lung won't get damaged during respiration. So that is held by this particular fluid called pleural fluid. Sometimes, due to some pathological or physiological problems, this pleural cavity, this pleural fluid will be excessive in nature. Sometimes there will be excessive pleural fluid, and that condition is called as emphysema or edema to the lungs. So if there is excess pleural fluid, then that is a disease condition. The patient cannot breathe properly if he has some excess fluid, and that condition is called as emphysema or simply pneumonia. So pneumonia means accumulation of excess fluid in this pleural cavity is called as pneumonia. Sometimes in this cavity, blood may fill up due to some thoracic hemorrhage or due to some bleeding in the thoracic cavity. This pleural cavity will be filled with blood, and that condition is called as hemothorax. Hemothorax means filling of pleural cavity with blood is called as hemothorax. Then there is second condition. Sometimes this pleural cavity can also fill with air. If it is filled with air, patient cannot breathe properly. This air will trap in between these layers and lungs cannot expand because of entrapment of air in the pleural cavity. And that condition is called as pneumothorax. Pneumothorax means filling with air in the pleural cavity is called as pneumothorax. Filling with blood in the pleural cavity is called as hemothorax. Sometimes this can also be filled with some pus, okay, some pus material, and that is called as a there is a term for it, pyothorax. So pyothorax means filling of a pleural cavity with the pus is called as pyothorax, which is usually or commonly seen in bacterial infection. So assessing this pleural cavity, assessing this pleural fluid can give us the status of the condition of the patient respiratory problem. Is there any internal bleeding in the lungs, or is there any pus or bacterial infection in the lungs, or is there any accumulation of air in the lungs? So by knowing this, we can able to diagnose the patients. So that is the importance of this pleural cavity and the pleural fluid. And that pleural fluid will be taken by a procedure, okay, with a needle, and that we will discuss later in the clinical pathology. And next is the area, students. So these lungs are embedded in a thoracic cavity. So we have different cavities in the human body. I forgot to discuss these cavities in any one lecture. I will discuss cavities anyway. So these lungs are present in the thoracic cavity because it is the place where the thoracic cavity is the place where the thoracic bones or the rib cage is present. Okay, so this inside this thoracic cavity, the lungs are present and they are protected by a rib cage. So they are protected by a outer rib cage. Okay, so these are the outer rib cage. Now at the inferior aspect of the lungs, you will see a structure called diaphragm, and this diaphragm is very important for respiration. Believe it or not, it is not the lungs that are expanding, rather than it is the diaphragm that is making the lungs to expand. Lungs themselves cannot expand. Lungs does not have any muscles for expansion or relaxation. Lungs will be expanded with the help of an external muscle called diaphragm. Because of this diaphragm only, these lungs will expand. Diaphragm plays a very important role in breathing, in ventilation. So it is because of this contraction and relaxation of this diaphragm, the lungs will expand and lungs will contract. So diaphragm plays a vital role in breathing. Okay, so at the inferior aspect of the lungs, you will see the diaphragm. In fact, on this diaphragm only, our heart will sit. Our heart will sit on the base of the diaphragm like this. Okay, so yes, so the outside, the lungs are protected by the rib cage, and in between the ribs, in between the intercostal ribs, you will see a muscle, and that muscle is called as intercostal muscles. So both the ribs and the diaphragm contract together for expanding or for contracting the lungs. Okay, so these are the major parts, and I said that the lungs are made up of lobes. The right side lung has 3 lobes, whereas the left side lung has the 2 lobes. So these lobes, these lobes are divided by fissures. Okay, so see, we have 2 fissures in the right side lung. So we have the thing that will divide the lungs into lobes are called as fissures. We have 2 fissures in the right lung, whereas we have 1 fissure in the left lung. Okay, then these lobes, we have 3 lobes in the right side lung. We have right upper lobe, right middle lobe, and right lower lobe, whereas in the left side we have right upper lobe and the left lower lobe. So these are the lobes of the lungs. Then coming to the bronchial tree. So here in the trachea, so trachea on the upper portion of the trachea, it is connected to the larynx, which is also called as the voice box, and lower part of the trachea, it is connected to the bronchioles. Okay, so we have the right bronchus and left bronchus. Okay, so these are called as the primary bronchus. So we have the right bronchus and the left bronchus. Now this bronchus will be further divided. This bronchus will undergo further divisions. So the first division of this bronchus is called as secondary bronchus. So this is the primary bronchus and this is the secondary bronchus. Then the secondary bronchus, further it will divide, and they are called tertiary bronchus. So the secondary bronchus is further divided, and that further divided bronchus is called tertiary bronchus. Then this tertiary bronchus again divides, and such they are called as bronchioles. Tertiary bronchi will further divides and they are called as bronchioles. Okay, at terminally, these bronchioles will end up with alveoli. Alveoli is the terminal portion, the end portion of the trachea or bronchioles. Okay, so the bronchioles will end up with alveoli, and in this alveoli, the oxygen and carbon dioxide will exchange. Oxygen and carbon dioxide will exchange in the alveoli. At the site of alveoli, the exchange of gases will happen. Okay, so these are the basic parts of the lung. Then let us see the structure of the larynx in detail. So if you see the basic structure of a larynx, in this larynx, it has the following parts. Okay, so at the top of this larynx, you will see something called the epiglottis cartilage. Then you will see hyoid bone. So to this hyoid bone, it is connected to thyroid cartilage and circoid cartilage. Okay, so hyoid bone is connected to the vocal cords. Okay, I'm not going to show you the in detail structure of the larynx. Okay, that will be way too depth for us. So since it is not there in the syllabus, I'm not going to bother about the in detail structure of the larynx. So I'm just giving you some basic idea that this on the top of the larynx you will see epiglottis cartilage. Then you will see epiglottis. I hope you know epiglottis that is present in the mouth, that I will show you later. So that near this epiglottis you have something called hyoid bone. To this hyoid bone, inside the hyoid bone you will see vocal cords. So vocal cords are connected to this hyoid bone, and on the anterior aspect of this larynx you will see thyroid cartilage. Why it is called thyroid cartilage? Because it is the place where the thyroid gland is situated. So on the anterior aspect of this larynx you will see thyroid cartilage or thyroid gland. So it is very important gland for maintaining the metabolism of our body. So usually it will secrete T3 and T4 hormones that are very essential for maintaining the metabolism of our body. Okay, so if these T3 and T3 levels are decreased, then you will undergo a condition called hypothyroidism, or you will undergo a condition called hyperthyroidism, depending upon the levels. Increased levels hyperthyroidism, decreased levels hypothyroidism, and that is maintained by this thyroid gland, and this thyroid gland is situated at the thyroid cartilage of the larynx. Then you have the circoid cartilage. Circoid cartilage means, very simple students, this cartilage is like a circle. That is why it is called circoid cartilage. So this circoid cartilage has circles. A layer of circles are present, stacked one on other like this. Okay, together these circles will make the trachea actually. Okay, a group of circoid cartilage will make a trachea. So that's it. And one more thing, the top portion, the if you see the structure of the lung, it is like a pyramid, students. Okay, on any pyramid, on the top of that pyramid is called as apex. Any triangular objects, the top portion is called as apex. So this portion of the lung is called as the apex of the lungs. Okay, that's it. So this is the structure of the lungs. So on the top portion you have the larynx. Larynx is composed of different types of cartilage. Okay, it has the epiglottis cartilage, hyoid bone, then it has the thyroid cartilage and the circoid cartilage. So circoid cartilage is essential for maintaining this one. Just a second, I'm getting a call. So that's it, students. So this is all about the structure of lungs. Is it clear for everyone? Any doubts in this picture? By the way, there is a space in between right and left lung, and this space is the space where the heart will situate. The heart is situated in between these two lungs. Okay, and that space is called as mediastinum. The space where the heart is situated in the thoracic cavity in between the lungs is called as mediastinum. Mediastinum is the space where the heart is situated. So this is all about the structure of lungs. A quick revision. We have the larynx. Larynx is connected to the trachea. Trachea is connected to the bronchus. We have the right bronchus and left bronchus. This bronchus is further divided into secondary bronchus and tertiary bronchus. At the terminal portion of the bronchus, it has the alveoli. Then this lung is protected by two layers. Those layers are called as pleura of lung. It has inner pleura and outer pleura. Inner pleura is called as visceral pleura, whereas outer pleura is called as parietal pleura. In between this pleura, we have the pleural space or pleural cavity. In this pleural cavity, it is filled with pleural fluid. Pleural fluid plays an important role in protecting the lungs from friction. Then you have the lobes. Right lung has 3 lobes, whereas the left lung has 2 lobes. Right lung, the lobes are divided by fissures. Okay, so because of these fissures, the right lung has been divided into right upper lobe, right middle lobe, and right lower lobe. Whereas left side we have right upper lobe and the right lower lobe. At the bottom portion or at the inferior portion of the lungs, we have the diaphragm, which is very important for breathing. Then the total lungs are present in a cavity called thoracic cavity, and the thoracic cavity is protected by rib cage. Okay, so this is all about the structure of lungs. Any doubts, students? I
No,
hope
sir.
not. Right? Okay.
No,
This
sir.
diagram is very important, students. Everyone must draw this diagram. I will ask, draw the in detail structure of lungs. Then you must draw this diagram. Okay. If I'm asking illustrate respiratory system, then you must draw this one. If I'm asking illustrate overall respiratory tract, then you should draw this upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. If I'm asking draw the structure of lungs, then you must draw this picture. Okay, so this is the structure for the structure of lungs. Then the third part of this lecture will be breathing and respiration. So before discussing about breathing and respiration, I will discuss in detail about the pleura. So understanding the anatomy of the layers, the pleura of lungs is very important for understanding the clinical conditions of the patient. Okay, so before that, let me tell you what is breathing. So breathing means inhaling and exhaling of air is called as breathing. You will take air inside the lungs and you will exhale the air. You will remove air from the lungs. Breathe in and breathe out is called as breathing. And this breathing is extensively made by diaphragm, by the movement of diaphragm. Yes, this is something really interesting. Lungs themselves cannot expand or relax. Lungs don't have any muscles for that mechanism. They are completely dependent on the ribs and the diaphragm. Diaphragm plays an important role in breathing. Okay, if you have any damage to the diaphragm, you cannot breathe. So you need to ensure that diaphragm is not damaged. Both the diaphragm and the rib bones together plays an important role in the breathing. Or breathing is also called as ventilation. Okay, so mechanism of when okay, if I'm asking a question on mechanism of breathing, I'm asking about you must write an answer about the mechanism of or the involvement of diaphragm and the involvement of rib bones and intercostal muscles in the breathing. So this is all about the mechanism of breathing or ventilation. Breathing is also called as ventilation. Okay, so that is all about the breathing. Then the second one is respiration. What is the difference between this breathing and respiration? Do you have any guesses, students? Do you know what is the difference between respiration and breathing? Can anyone give me an idea about
So
breathing and
respiration
respiration?
is the use of oxygen by the body cells.
Very good. Respiration is the use of oxygen by the body cells. Is called as respiration. Then what is breathing, Aman?
So breathing is inhaling the air and exhaling it out.
So intaking of oxygen, we can say that intaking of oxygen. And respiration is the use of oxygen.
Who is this?
Sir Tripti.
Tripti. Very good. So both Tripti and Aman gave very nice answers. Any more? Any more definitions by any other students? Difference between breathing and respiration. I think yes, I am satisfied by both the answers. Very good, students. Yes, as Aman said, breathing means intake of air and expel of air is called as breathing, whereas respiration means at cellular level. Exchange of oxygen at cellular level can be stated as a respiration. Very good. So that's it, students. So see, students, the mechanism of taking air into the lungs is called as breathing. How I'm taking air into the lungs? Okay, I will take a deep breath. How I'm taking deep breath? By contracting my my diaphragm, by relaxing my intercostal muscles. I have taken the air. After taking the air, now this air will exchange in between the cells of the alveoli. At the cellular level, the oxygen and carbon dioxide will exchange at cellular level near alveoli, and that exchange of oxygen is called as respiration. Physiochemical aspect of this exchange of oxygen and chemical is called as respiration, whereas the mechanism of taking this air together as a air, okay, mechanism of taking air and removing air is called as breathing, whereas exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide is called as respiration. Respiration happens at cellular level, whereas breathing happens at lung level, at a higher level, okay, at lung level. So that is called breathing. Breathing involves the lungs, whereas respiration involves the cells. Okay, so respiration happens at cellular level, whereas the breathing happens at higher level at lungs. Okay, so that is the major difference between ventilation and respiration, or breathing and respiration. Very good. So yes, this picture will show you the exact thing what I'm trying to tell. So here, the way this person inhaling air and exhaling air is called as breathing, and at cellular level, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide happening at cellular level at alveoli, and this is called respiration. At cellular level you will see respiration, whereas at a higher level you will see the breathing or ventilation. So ventilation or breathing same, whereas respiration means it will happen at the cellular level. So inhale of air is called inhalation, and removing of air is called as exhalation. Exhalation means removing air, whereas taking air is called as inhalation. So together it is called as mechanism of breathing and mechanism of respiration at cellular level. So these two I will discuss in the next lecture. So this is all about the basic introduction to respiratory physiology. So in respiratory physiology, first we discussed about the basic parts of upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Then we discussed in detail about the structure of lungs. Then we have discussed about the role of diaphragm and lungs and the rib bones and the intercostal muscles in breathing. Then I have discussed about the difference between the breathing and respiration. Breathing means inhale and exhalation of air together is called as breathing or ventilation. Then I discussed about the respiration, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide at cellular level, at alveoli, at the level of alveoli is called as respiration. Okay, so yeah, let me check the time. So I have 20 minutes. So let me discuss the further part of this lecture.
Sir, there is one more difference, breathing and respiration.
Yes.
Breathing is a take in and take out, but
Hmm.
respiration is a surviving the O2 by the cell.
Yes, survival by the cells can be stated as a respiration. Correct.
Breathing is only take in and take out, but respiration is a surviving by the cell.
Yes. Correct.
Is there one more difference?
Yes, one, simply we can say at cellular aspect and at lung aspects. Just a second, I'm getting call from one faculty. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a small confusion regarding your professional communication, whether it is activity based or exam based. So that's it. Anyway, so where are we? We are discussing about mechanism of breathing and respiration, and someone right now said that respiration is at cellular level, whereas breathing is at the lung level. Correct. And okay. Mm, okay, so moving forward, students. So yeah, so this is the actual notes. So from here, the actual topic will start. So coming to the introduction. Um, so introduction to the respiratory physiology. So respiration means it is the process by which oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out. So the first breath takes place after birth. Fetal lungs are non-functional. So during intrauterine life, exchange of gases happens between fetal blood and mother's blood through the placenta. After the first breath, the respiratory process will start throughout the life until the death of the patient or the person. So permanent stoppage of respiration can only result at death. Yes, students. So basically, when the fetus is in the mother's womb, okay, when the baby is in the mother's womb, respiration happens directly by exchange of gases between the mother's blood and the fetal blood. Okay, so that happens at through the placenta. So only when the baby delivered, well, only when the baby when the mother given birth to the baby, okay, when the baby came outside during pasteurization, then only the baby will start its first respiration. Then only the lungs will become functional, and the lungs will become functional, and it will happen until the death of the person. So and that will start at the right when you are given birth to the baby. Okay, so from that day onwards, your lungs will start functioning. And sometimes I used to wonder uh, until you know we have the capability of living underwater, because the baby is suspended in the amniotic fluid in the uterus, and baby literally doesn't require the function of lungs actually. So the function of the lungs will be bypassed, and only respiration will happen in the baby actually. There won't be any ventilation or breathing to the baby. Usually we tend to say that baby will breathe in the womb. No, baby won't breathe. Baby will respirate. Okay, directly baby will exchange the gases of mother's blood, and that is really interesting. Okay, that thing happens at placenta level. At the level of placenta, the exchange of gases will happen in between the baby's blood and the mother's blood, and only after giving birth the respiration or the breathing will start. So until that, there will be only respiration, exchange of gases at cellular level. And coming to the respiratory rate or breath rate. So breath rate means, the common definition is, it is the number of inhalations and exhalations per minute is called as breath rate. And the normal respiratory rate or breathing rate is higher in newborn and lower in adults. And there is a reason. Since the fetus or the babies has more growth in their cells, obviously they require more oxygen. In order to compensate or in order to deliver more oxygen, their breath rate will be comparatively high compared to the adults. So if you see the breath rate of a newborn, it is around 30 to 60 per minute. Okay, inhalation and exhalation together 30 to 60 per minute, whereas early childhood it is around 20 to 40 per minute. Then late childhood 15 to 25 per minute, and in adults it will be around 12 to 16 per minute in normal conditions. Keep in mind, and breathing happens it is an involuntary process. So the ventilation is an involuntary process. You need not to think whether you are breathing or not, so it will happen automatically. So at normal in normal situations, the normal breath rate in an adult will be 12 to 16. But if you are thinking how much you are breathing, then automatically your breath rate will be increased. Okay, if you start counting your breath rate, then you will have slightly higher breath rate. Okay, because now you are becoming voluntarily, you are checking your breath rate. Anyway, so commonly or normally the breath rate will be 12 to 16 per minute. Okay, then types of respiration. So we have two types of respiration: external respiration and internal respiration. So this external respiration is called as ventilation, whereas internal respiration is called as the actual respiration. Okay, so external respiration means it involves exchange of oxygen at Exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide in between lungs and blood. Okay, so yes, so exchange of oxygen in between lungs and blood is called as external respiration, whereas
Sir,
exchange of oxygen in between blood and tissues is called as internal respiration. Yes, student? Any doubt?
sir, someone mic is on, I guess.
Someone mic. Okay, that I can do from my end. I can mute everyone. Okay, let me. So far here I muted everyone. Okay. Yeah. I think the noise is from my background. Actually, some children are playing here. Anyway, that's it, students. We have two types of respiration: external respiration and internal respiration. External respiration means it is the exchange of gases in between lungs and blood. In between lungs and blood is called as external respiration, whereas in between blood and tissues is called as internal respiration. Okay, so then coming to the phases of respiration. So these phases are very important. So one is inspiration and other one is expiration. Inspiration means inhale of air into the lungs is called as inspiration. Okay, whereas expiration means exhale of air from lungs to environment or atmosphere is called as expiration. So inspiration means intake of air, whereas expiration means ejecting air is called outtake of air. It can be stated as a expiration. Okay, then the second part, there is a slight notes on this pleura, students, the functional anatomy of respiratory tract. So in this functional anatomy, they are discussing about pleura. So we have two types of pleura that we already discussed. Can you tell me the names of pleura? What are the two types of pleura we have? Tell me the types of pleura.
Inner or outer?
Visceral,
So visceral,
Visceral
and
Very good.
parietal.
Visceral pleura and parietal pleura.
Parietal pleura.
Visceral pleura is inner pleura, whereas outer pleura is called as parietal pleura.
Parietal.
Very
Right.
good. That's it,
Yes,
students. In between pleura, what we have? In between pleura, we have a cavity. What is the
Pleural
name of the
cavity.
pleural
Pleural
cavity?
cavity.
Pleural cavity.
Pleural cavity.
Yes. Some and that cavity is filled with a space, and that space is called pleural space. Okay. Peripleural space. They are calling it as a peripleural space, and in this peripleural space, you will find your pleural fluid. Pleural fluid is present in between pleural space. Okay, parietal cavity, and then what is that? Here they have given interpleural fluid. Okay, in between this pleura you have interpleural fluid, and they have given the functions. So the functions of this interpleural fluid or parietal fluid, okay, pleural fluid is it functions as a lubricant to prevent friction between two layers of pleura, and also it involves in creating negative pressure called interpleural pressure within the interpleural space. Actually, I don't know the significance of this negative pressure. That I will let you know in the next lecture. Okay, I don't know exactly what is the function of this negative pressure of this interpleural fluid. Anyway, it will give this negative pressure. Okay, then pleural cavity in abnormal conditions. So as I stated, we have three abnormal conditions. Okay, four abnormal conditions actually. One is pneumothorax. That means filling of this pleural cavity with air is called as pneumothorax. Then if this pleural cavity filled with water, then it is called hydrothorax. If this pleural cavity filled with blood, it is called hemothorax. If it is filled with pus cells, then it is called pyothorax. So these are the abnormal conditions. Okay, usually this pleural cavity will be present with pleural fluid. Sometimes this pleural fluid will be replaced with air called pneumothorax. It is replaced with water called hydrothorax. It is replaced with blood called hemothorax. It can also be replaced with pus cells in case of bacterial infection, and that condition is called as pyothorax. So this is all about the significance of pleura, pleural space, and the abnormal conditions of this pleural space. And by the way, we will get this cough. Why we are getting this cough? Because in between this pleural space, sometimes the sputum or the phlegm will be entrapped because of this presence of this pleural, white blood cells. Okay, because of this bacterial infection. In such conditions, there will be this phlegm or sputum, and this sputum will be expelled out with this cough reflex. So basically, when we are having this sputum, means that indicates there is a infection in the lungs. Only during infection to the lungs, we will see this sputum or phlegm or cough. So usually that will be removed automatically by the lungs by a mechanism. Okay, so or else we can also remove it by taking certain medications. There is a cleansing mechanism of removing.
Sir, you are muted.
God, when I muted, what I'm discussing last time? Abnormal conditions of lungs. Do I finish that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Then
About medication.
medications, fine. Yeah, this phlegm or sputum can be cleared by medications. Our body also have a automatic cleansing mechanism of removing this this blockage in the pleural space. Okay, there is a mechanism involved for removing this that we need not to study. Okay, then next is tracheobronchial tree, students. So tracheobronchial tree means whatever we discussed in the structure of lungs, the same story is there in this tracheobronchial tree. So the segments of this trachea and bronchi together is called as tracheobronchial tree. So first we have the trachea, then this trachea will be first time segmented, and this is called primary bronchus. From this primary bronchus, it is segmented, that is called secondary bronchus. From the secondary bronchi, it will further segmented called tertiary bronchus. From this tertiary bronchus, it will further segmented called terminal bronchus. These terminal bronchus further segmented to become bronchioles. These bronchioles are further segmented to alveoli. So the ultimate, the end or the terminal point of this bronchus will be alveoli, and it is at this level of alveoli where the exchange of gases will happen. If this gas is happening in between lungs and blood at alveoli, then that is called as external respiration. If this respiration happens in between blood and tissues, then it is called as internal respiration. This is all about the tracheobronchial tree or segments of the trachea. Then we have upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. You already know. So upper respiratory tract is composed of nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx, whereas the lower respiratory tract is composed of trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, and lungs. This is the lower respiratory tract and the upper respiratory tract. So what is the functional unit of respiratory tract? So usually the functional unit of respiratory tract is alveoli, students. Usually lung or alveoli is stated as a functional unit of lung. Okay, so lung is made up of this alveoli. So together this alveoli will make a lung. So alveoli is a part of bronchial tree, as you know. So the functional unit of lung will be alveoli. So always keep in mind. So the respiratory unit of lung will be alveoli. Okay. So this is all about the structure of respiratory tract and the general anatomy of respiratory tract. In tomorrow's lecture, we will discuss about the functions of respiratory system, the functions of lungs. Okay. Meanwhile, there is a short topic called a respiratory unit. So as I said, the alveoli is a respiratory unit of the lungs. So alveolar ducts. So there is a short thing. Okay, alveolar duct. Each alveolar duct enters into an enlarged structure called alveolar sac. Space inside this alveolar sac is called antrum. Alveolar sac is composed of clusters of alveoli. Few alveoli present in the walls of the alveolar duct. So thus respiratory unit is composed of respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, alveolar sacs, antrum, and alveoli. Okay. They're further giving a brief explanation, students. So first we have bronchioles. These bronchioles are connected to tube-like structures. Those tube-like structures are called as alveolar ducts. In medical terminology, tube is called as a duct. Okay, so they are connected to a duct. Now these ducts are connected to a space. Okay, sacs. Okay, these sacs are called as alveolar sacs. Inside these sacs, you will see an empty space, and those empty space is called as antrum. In this antrum, you will see the alveoli. Okay, okay, that's it. Alveoli is connected to the arteries and veins in order to exchange the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. So that's it. So this is the respiratory unit. So respiratory unit is composed of bronchioles, duct, sac, antrum, and alveoli. So this is the detailed structure of a respiratory unit, or simply alveoli is the functional unit of the lung. If I'm asking you to draw the structure of a respiratory unit, then the respiratory unit is composed of the following parts, and you need to draw this diagram. So this is the structure of a respiratory unit. So that's all about today's lecture, students. A brief revision of today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed about the parts of the upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Then we discussed about the structure of the lungs and the pleura of the lungs. Then we have discussed about the difference between the ventilation and respiration. Then we have discussed about the normal respiratory rate. Then we discussed about the types of respiration. We have external respiration and internal respiration. Then we discussed about the inspiration and expiration. Then we discussed about the significance of pleura and abnormal conditions of this pleural cavity. So typically we have 4 conditions. Filling of this pleural cavity with water is called hydrothorax, with air is called pneumothorax, with blood is called hematothorax, and with white blood cells or pus is called as pyothorax. Then we discussed about bronchial tree. So bronchial tree is basically the segmentation of the trachea and bronchioles. So first we will have the trachea, then the trachea is further divided into primary bronchus, then it further divided to secondary bronchus, tertiary bronchus, terminal bronchioles, and it is connected to the respiratory unit. So the respiratory unit is composed of bronchioles, ducts, sacs, antrum, and alveoli. Okay, so this is all about the functional anatomy of lungs. So in tomorrow's lecture, we will discuss about the functions of lungs, and we will discuss about mechanism of ventilation and respiration. So thank you very much, students. If you have any doubts, you can
Thank
ask
you,
me. If
sir.
not, I will finish this lecture. Can I end this lecture?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, students.
Sir.
See you. See you,
Thank you,
students.
sir.
Yes, see you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.